The United States says it has hit more Houthi military targets inside Yemen after seizing Iranian weapons intended for the rebels. US Navy SEALs raided a vessel near the coast of Somalia last week. Seized weapons include warheads for medium-range ballistic missiles and anti-cruise missiles. Washington claims the intercepted shipment is proof that Iran is still delivering advanced military aid to the Houthis, who have used it to attack international shipping in the Red Sea. And the latest of these attacks targeted a Greek-owned cargo ship on Tuesday, a day after a US-owned ship was struck off the coast of Yemen. Houthis say their attacks are aimed at supporting Palestinians in Israel's war in Gaza. Well, despite these latest US strikes against Houthi targets, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told the World Economic Forum in Switzerland that the United States is not seeking to escalate tensions in the Middle East.
We are not looking for regional conflict. Far from it. Through a combination of steady deterrence and steadfast diplomacy, we seek to stop the spread of conflict and to create the conditions for de-escalation. Our approach is and remains focused on moving towards greater integration and stability in the region.
Well, Ian Ralby is a maritime security expert and a non-resident senior fellow at the Centre for Maritime Strategy. Welcome to DW. Would you say the presence of this US-led mission in the Red Sea, the Operation Prosperity Guardian, has it escalated tensions in the region or calmed things down?
I'm not sure the presence of the mission has done either, but the certain attacks on Houthi targets inside of Yemen has certainly led to an escalation. By batting down the missiles in the early days of the operation, it was purely defensive and very clearly so. Unfortunately, what has happened is once the missiles started hitting targets inside of Yemen, the Houthi narrative that they were at war with the US and the UK became more or less true. And so it has exacerbated an existing tension within the region of the Houthis fighting not only against the government of Yemen and the wider West, but specifically the US and the UK. And so we've played into a narrative that has existed for quite a while.
And of course, it's also failed to deter the Houthis from attacking ships in the region.
Absolutely. So deterrence is a relative concept, and what would deter me or you is very different than what deters the Houthis. They've been at war for a long time, and if you watch how they responded to force in the past, this was a very foreseeable consequence of these strikes. There was no chance that hitting targets inside Yemen was going to really de-escalate either the overall tension or deter them from continuing, because for the first time, by attacking shipping, they gained relevance and global attention that they've never had. And so they wanted more of that, and they are going to continue apace. And let's be honest, it doesn't take a whole lot to disrupt shipping. And so they've been very successful, not only using the heavy machinery and weaponry that they've been getting from Iran over the years, but they have the capacity to be a thorn in the side of shipping indefinitely, because a low-tech version of this could be a very disruptive approach. They have a history of that, and we are likely in for a longer-term problem if we do not change our approach.
Because as well as, I'm sorry to sound so negative about this whole thing, but as well as all that seems quite bad, we have the fact that shipping companies are looking at this situation and saying, well, do you know what? We'd rather not sail through a war zone. We will go round the long way, even though it's more expensive. So the whole point of this whole exercise just seems pointless.
Well, I'm not sure it's entirely pointless, but it certainly isn't having the effect that we want. The shipping companies are in a tough position. On the one hand, it is the quickest route by a long way to go through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal to get to the Mediterranean, Europe, and North America. The problem is that if you are putting seafarers' lives in danger, it is really irresponsible. And so many of them have chosen the more responsible approach, which is to circumnavigate the continent of Africa, add a lot of time to the journey, and ultimately add a lot of cost and logistics to the overall supply chain dynamics. And that's going to start being felt all around the world soon. We're already starting to notice prices ticking up, challenges arising in terms of supply chains getting to places on time, and that's only going to get worse. The problem is that right now, it isn't an on-off switch. It's not like they could just go back through the Red Sea again tomorrow, because a lot of routes have been changed. And so we're in a period of probably longer term challenge because we haven't been able to deal with this quickly enough. And the presence of the operation will be needed to continue if the strikes do continue for the few ships that are going through. So it is a very challenging position, and there's not a whole lot of good news at the moment. But there are things we could be doing.
Okay, let's look at that, because, you know, we get that it's complicated. So what would have worked better, do you think? What would have been a better tactic have been?
Well, let's start with where we are rather than wish for a different outcome from where we could have gone. Let's say that right now, the best thing to do is to try to start supporting other states in terms of states who could have an effect on this situation. Those include Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and also the government of Yemen. And the government of Yemen is probably the #1 focus that should be on everybody's mind right now, because they are the sovereign government of the Yemeni people, and the Houthis have been a thorn in their side for the last decade fighting against them. So they are battle tested in fighting against these terrorists, and we need to be able to support them. Part of that requires labeling the Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization and supporting the government of Yemen in re-engaging and taking back some of the areas that are being controlled by the Houthis and allowing them to launch these attacks. So the government of Yemen plays a particularly important role. The other thing is that the other states in the region need to be reassured that this is not about Israel and Gaza. Unfortunately, the Houthis have stolen that narrative and they're capitalizing on it. But until we divorce the narrative of what is going on in Yemen from what is going on in Gaza, we aren't going to get the support of other regional actors. And so the key to this is making it very clear that the Houthis don't care about the Palestinians. They're caring only about the Houthi equities. And those equities are right now at odds with global maritime commerce and the betterment of the entire world, because not only are we talking about the profits of shipping companies or shippers, but we are looking at delivery of critical goods, food, clothes, shelter requirements for people all over the world, including in hard-hit areas that need humanitarian aid. And right now, they can't get there.
Fascinating. Thank you for your analysis. Maritime analyst Ian Ralby. Thank you.
Thank you so much.